Let me change the batteries in this guy.
Cool.
9 minutes away. So.
COVID-19 heads.
Good morning. Let's just get started while she's getting us some batteries. Who's all online? What do we got? We got Nicole and Craig, and that's all I see right now, I think. Anybody else I'm missing? There's Michael, Brian Jackson, Tammy. Hello. How do I get to where I can see everybody? That'd be the coolest.
BRB.
Look at that.
Cool, welcome everybody to lead generation 3612-3. So while we're waiting on the clicker to get back, I'm just gonna go ahead and get started. We're gonna go through a little bit of stuff here. So first thing we need to talk about is what have you guys talked about so far? Have you guys been in every session, everybody? And this is online too. Please unmute yourself and just talk to me if you would, instead of typing the block. I have no idea what's going on inside of that chat block.
Yeah, I've been in every one, Brian.
Cool. So last session, what did we talk about?
We talked about agent to agent referral.
Agent to agent referrals. Cool. So what did, where'd that come from? Who changed that for me? Nobody? Oh, I did, didn't I? Whenever I put it on the thing. Dang it. Sorry, guys. It's technology. It's going to mess me up today a little bit. You going backwards? There we are. Cool. So we talked about agent to agent referrals. Some of the other things that you've covered so far, we talked about for sale by owners and expired. So what did you get from the for sale by owners and expireds class? Just one thing from somebody in the class that they got from that lesson that has been applied so far. Anyone? So let me start over. I ask a lot of questions. So whenever we ask questions, I got to get responses. Cool. So if I just ask a question, anybody, please, somebody unmute yourself or just answer the question. If we got to interact in here, I'm going to be really boring for 2 hours. Promise.
Here you go.
I'm not that interesting of a person. So when we were in the for sale by owners and expireds class, something that has been applied since then, since last week, that you've taken to heart and actually applied. Someone.
I liked what they said about the 8x8 plan for people that you've just met and adjusting it depending on how quick the market's moving.
Okay, explain just a little bit more for me, Nicole.
So I think the traditional 8x8 is where you contact them once a week for 8 weeks to solidify a relationship.
Stop. Can I stop you for just a second? Where I wanted you to go with it just a little bit, I should have been a little bit more specific. Why is that 8x8 effective for you, or how can you make that 8x8 effective?
It reminds me to follow up with people that I've met and build a relationship out, not forget about them.
Yeah, absolutely. So one thing from, let's talk about marketing. Anything from the marketing lesson? It's a couple weeks ago. Wasn't here. It's okay. No, if you weren't here, it's no big deal. I wasn't here either for that day. So I read through a little bit, but remember when we talk marketing in itself, we're enhancing our prospecting, right? We're using that marketing to enhance prospecting. So what am I gonna get out of today? Basically, the things we're gonna cover, we're gonna talk about what lead conversion is. We're going to get to know our leads and talk about how to get to know our leads. We're going to talk about tips for getting an appointment. We're going to discuss getting the most from internet inquiries, consultation, pre-qualification, classifying our leads, and then putting it all together into one big deal of lead conversion. And remember, we're only talking about converting leads here. So we've already got the lead, right? Now what? What do we do with that person? So first activity we want to do today. It's real quick. We're going to be on page 4 of your book. Page 4 of your book talks about where you are today. So some of the things that we're doing, lead generation activities, any ahas for those activities. So we're going to take about 4 minutes and we're going to list some of the lead generation activities that we're currently doing. All I want you guys to do, I'm going to put them up on the board here so we can just refer back to them later. All I want you guys to do is just one at a time, just kind of throw them out there, brainstorm style. And this will not be in a list, I promise you. I'm just going to write it up here all nasty.
Door knocking.
Door knocking, cool.
Sphere of influence.
Open house.
Sorry, what was that on Zoom? I missed one.
Open houses.
Open house, cool. Cool. What else? What are some other activities that you are doing for lead generation?
Mailing, letter
Mailers.
writing.
Okay, are you actually doing mailers?
I'm
Okay,
writing
cool.
them out by hand.
Sweet.
Mhm.
What was that? I heard something.
Well, Facebook, because I'm part of like different groups and we chime in when people are looking for.
Cool. So
Well, that's
Facebook groups, Facebook activity.
Yeah.
Just Facebook in general. How do you think of your social media? Do you think of it as a whole or pieces, parts?
Probably
curious.
pieces and parts, but I'm not very active on it, so that's something I'm working on building.
Okay, cool. So we're not very active on it. So from these, anybody online got any lead gen activities that we haven't discussed so far that they're currently using?
Facebook ads.
Facebook ads, cool.
Cold calling.
Cold calling. Okay, cool. So from these activities, what are some ahas that you've had in the past?
Follow up, follow up, follow up.
Yeah, absolutely. Follow up. What was that? Sorry. Nicole, you're breaking up.
Focus on nets.
Focus on the mats, okay? Tammy, can you explain on that a little bit? Focus on the Mets. What do you think Nicole would mean by focusing on the Mets? I wish this was. Okay, Crystal, we'll ask somebody else. All right, Justin, what does she mean by focusing on
Focus
that?
on the Mets. You get a much higher return of transaction with people who you've met than people who you haven't met, and try to talk them to transacting.
Okay, cool. Anyone else?
Yeah, I agree with Justin. It's conversion rates are much better.
Yeah, conversion rates with Mets are much better, sure, absolutely. So what are some challenges with focusing on, with lead gen in general? What are some of the
Conversion.
challenges? Okay, conversion.
Yeah.
Why is that a challenge?
Because people are really bad about closing.
People are really bad about closing. Are you really bad about closing?
That's something I'm working on. Actually.
Cool. So maybe, right, is the answer. And if we can be honest with that, and then maybe, right? Then that's why we're here. We're going to be here to learn how to make those closes and really convert from that Met into that lead, right? And then eventually into a transaction, and then they'll cover some of that stuff a little bit later. What are you, and I know we're early, we haven't started, but what are you gonna do differently today or tomorrow that you did yesterday? Anyone?
Be a better connector.
Okay, be a better connector. Explain on that for me.
Okay, so it's the part where you relate yourself and you figure out what your client needs and how that aligns with what you have to offer your client.
Okay.
So that it becomes very obvious that you're in a position to help them and they actually do need your help. And then once that's established, all you have to do is ask the right questions and get them closed. So
Yeah.
getting them there in the connecting phase is where I typically drop the ball.
Okay.
I have no problem asking them, so let's meet. Do you want to meet, anything like
Yeah.
that? But it's somewhere in between. I've got your information, black and white, name, address. And then do you want to, and I know they do, it's just I'm dropping the ball in
Do
there.
they want to what?
Do you want? to-
Whatever the next step
Yeah,
is?
yeah, right, yeah. Well, how about we meet for coffee? I'm gonna bring some stuff and show you like some of the steps of buying a house.
Sure, we're gonna get into some of that stuff today and talk about it for sure. Talk about how to ask those questions a little bit differently. And maybe get those conversions to yes, and also when to ask those questions, right? And I don't know the answer to that all the time. I strike out 100 times. So that's the beautiful thing to me. Why we're here is to increase the number of appointments we get, right? We're converting those leads into appointments. That's the goal. And then what's gonna make this a great experience? In your lesson guide on page 6, there's a blank spot in there that says what's gonna make this a great experience, if you have it. What are some of the things that you think could make this training a great experience for you? Because I want to try to meet those goals.
For me, it's to learn something new.
Learn something new, good. So good content, absolutely. What else? I'm gonna need engagement. That's gonna make this class really, really good. If we get some engagement out of everybody, just a little bit, and then open minds. Go ahead online again, sorry.
Better quality connections with people. asking
Better
the right
quality
questions.
connections with people, sure.
Mhm. Yeah.
Absolutely. Cool, so one of the things, so getting these appointments and getting to the point where we have a lead and we get to like what is actually lead conversion, for me, it's all about motivation, right? So what's your motivation? What's your motivation to close a deal, convert a lead, whatever? What's your motivation? What are you asking from them? So when we find those motivations and we find those motivations come from a genuine place, it seems like we get a little bit better. But when I define motivation, I like to tell every class I teach this motivation, and I didn't come up with this, believe me, this is somebody way smarter than me, I'll tell you in a second. Willingness to expound energy in order to reach a goal. So your willingness to expound energy in order to reach a goal. Just a simple math equation equals motivation. More to that, of course, but real simplistic level. And that's a Jordan Peterson quote. Smart guy, I guess, I don't know, but it seemed like it made sense to me whenever he put it in math terms. Why is that important? Because when I'm motivated to convert the leads, then we do more deals. If I'm not motivated to convert the leads, I'm never going to convert somebody anyway. So I got to find that in me first, take ownership in my own motivation level, my own scripts, my own body language, my own movements, all of those things, and then put all of that motivation together into a conversation that somebody already wants to have. They just don't know they want to have it with you, right? So they're going to have it anyway. What is a lead?
Prospective or suspective? There's two types.
Okay. Prospective or suspective, two types. Sure, go
So-
in more.
Suspective lead, you got two pieces of contact information.
Okay.
It's the likelihood of them transacting unknown until you have an appointment with them, and then that becomes a prospective lead, which they have a much higher percentage of transacting with you if you've got an appointment. They're still a lead, you haven't met with them yet. They're not yet your client, they haven't signed, so they're still technically a lead.
Right, okay. Cool, anybody else? Any more or less definition? Yes.
To me, it's like somebody that agrees to keep in touch with you.
Okay, somebody who keeps in touch with you. So the way that Gary Keller explains a lead is somebody ready, willing, and able to do business now. That's a lead. That's a good lead. But that's a lead. That's your top priority. That's where you want to focus your face-to-face time. And then you have everyone else. Everyone else is still people that you're keeping in contact with, but they have not necessarily expressed the intention to do business in real estate yet. So they don't need you professionally, right? They need you in a personal way, maybe, but that connection through those relationship buildings over time is where you need to focus. Those time, enter them in your database, continue to follow up, but focus on the face-to-face time, your real valuable minutes focused on the actual lead versus the everyone else's. There's several different conversion points. We are going to focus only on lead to appointment. Okay, so conversion point being from inquiry to lead. How would that happen? How would it be from inquiry to lead? We're just going to focus real quick. Andrew, help me out. Hopefully. I try to get people on Zoom to involve themselves too. It's more fun that way for me. Nothing. So inquiry to lead, what's that definition for you?
Someone that actually responds to your attempt to help them.
Okay. Again, definitions, right? Definitions from KW. We have our own sometimes, but if you simplify, right? Definition, is that person a leader and everyone else? Truthfully.
Everyone else.
So yeah, everyone else, right? That's an everyone else. That's a follow-up. That's a continue to contact. That's a smart plan. That's a you know, a nurture, an 8x8, all of those things. Somebody ready to do business. I would like to, you know, I'm gonna buy a house in the next 6 months, 8 months. Now doesn't necessarily mean today, but I like those a whole lot. Anybody have any questions so far? We're gonna focus again, lead to appointment. So one of the easiest ways, I think, in order to get a lead to an appointment would just be to get to know them, right? So getting to know your leads being one of the most important things, but what's the purpose? And this is a real question. This isn't rhetorical. What's the purpose of getting to know your leads?
Build rapport.
Build rapport. Cool. So in that building rapport, what are some of the things that we would do in order to build rapport?
I know what they're looking for, what their needs are.
Mm-hmm.
The Ford method.
The what?
The Ford method, ask about their family, occupation, recreation, dreams.
Yeah, that's how you get to know somebody. That's one way to get to know somebody for sure, using that Ford method.
I think you have to get to know someone before you start asking them real estate questions. Otherwise, it's just, you have to build enough rapport so they actually want to do business with you and care whether they ever talk to you again.
Okay.
In my opinion.
Everybody hear that? Nathan just said that you have to build rapport so that they want to do business with you.
I think it depends on the client.
Sure. Depends on the client. Give me more.
Just sometimes someone may have, like, you get a referral and they're good. You're good, I'm good, let's get what I need.
Yeah.
And you don't have to build a lot of rapport. You do that. You can do
Yeah.
that, but some people are just black and white. I want a house, help me find it, done.
Yeah, and in one of the last sections of this class, we're going to talk about that classifying. Because I'm with you. I believe that there are definitely different types of clients. There are those extremely transactional clients that are just, hey, let's go find a house, let's do business. And then there are others. And getting to know your client and who they are and what they want out of that transaction or out of that conversation is only going to help you take that person from a lead to an appointment. So finding those ways. One way to do that is get to know somebody.
Or you do that on cold calling or door knocking.
It's tough, right? How do you do it during door knocking or cold calling? Somebody help me with that one, because That's a class conversation, not a Brian conversation. How do you get to know somebody, get to know a lead by door knocking or cold calling? Anyone?
I door knock our neighborhood and I just introduce themselves as my neighbor, really smiley, and they start talking, "Oh, I'm your neighbor too. I've lived here so many years." And they kind of give them the real estate handout toward the end of the conversation, and they tend to talk more.
Well, the first thing is just ask me, and again, this is me. My way of doing it is, are they a lead? Do I need to get to know them yet? Because am I spending my energy in an effective way, right? That's what I spend probably 50% of my time figuring out if what I'm doing is effective. And not necessarily effective for the business, but is effective for now. So getting to know somebody that is a door knock, maybe that's not the time. And for me, I don't think it would be. Maybe at an open house, maybe it is. You've just got to feel that conversation.
My thought on
Go
it
ahead.
is that's why the conversion rate on cold calling or door knocking is less than what it would be at an open house, because you don't have as much of an opportunity to build rapport as you would if you're actually helping someone do something, i.e. look around a house.
No, if someone calls me or knocks on my door, I'm not gonna tell them squat.
Why not?
I'm not gonna tell anybody hardly anything if they call me on the phone or if they knock on my door. I'm probably not gonna tell them anything other than go away.
So when you do it, what's your expectation?
I've never done it.
But I will say though, if you knock enough doors, there will be someone that's interested in possibly doing something, and then you can start building rapport. But overall, as a whole, I think the conversion rate is less because a lot of people aren't interested in doing anything. I always use the analogy of a refrigerator. Like, I don't want to buy a refrigerator now. So it wouldn't matter if someone approached me, if I saw an advertisement or whatever, I'm not buying a refrigerator. But if I needed one, then I would be more receptive to things like that.
Yeah. So, yeah, absolutely. Is it the right time for you?
Whereas someone going to an open house obviously has some level of interest in looking at houses, obviously some more than others.
The first
So
assumption,
just
yeah.
knocking on someone's door, it may be that they don't want to buy a refrigerator now. So they're just not even interested in even talking to you or building any kind of rapport.
Sure.
I'm gonna add to that. One of the things that I discovered is knocking on somebody's door unrelated to necessarily trying to gain their information can actually produce, a potential listing. For example, I was helping a friend with a CCR, so I found the original developers and went and talked to them. And, I sat there for probably 45 minutes and listened to her life story, which was super cool. And, at the end of that conversation, I was, came from like, hey, can you help me with this? Is there any way that we can change that? And she ended up saying, well, I do have another property that we're considering selling. And so I got a listing lead out of that. So sometimes, knocking on the door about something that's related but yet unrelated can really open the door as well.
Have you converted it yet?
No, they're cleaning it out. So her husband has passed away, but she's like, I will have you sell it. It's just, we have to clean everything out first. So
Yeah, sure.
I've been in contact with her and had coffee with her and stuff like that. So I know that I'll have the list, matter of getting that taken care of.
So Crystal, when I classify that as a relationship, right? I've talked to the person on the phone several times. I've door knocked them, and I've also taken them to coffee. So she's doing the work to convert that lead to an appointment, to a listing, and probably already had it just from her initial conversation, but she's continuing to add value along the way, regardless of whether they're ready to list now or not. So it sounds like to me a really good job, Crystal. So everybody hands. Let's go. Give her hands. Good job. Keep it up. Thank you. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing. Seriously. So when we get to know our leads, what are we talking about? I hope the next slide. Yeah, sweet. We're talking about behavioral styles. Anybody gone through the DISC profiles or anything like that in the past? You have? Sweet. Can you give us Michelle has, can you give us a little bit of what you know about it?
4 kinds of different personality.
Okay, 4 personality types. Sure.
So one is always task oriented, like the D, the dominance.
Okay, cool. So
Go.
yeah, so dominant D, or in the DISC profile, the dominance trait talks about controlling, winning, bottom line, money, those type of things. Dominant type people. Sure.
And then the S is the person that is more like laid back and a slow pace, doesn't like change or anything. It feels comfortable with the same environment. And C is the person that also task oriented, that like to do everything in a way, like the details. Yeah, make sure everything's right before taking a decision. And I, the influence, is the people that, you know, the life of the party, the people that go along with everybody else, you know, always friendly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, basics. So how many fall into this S category? If you think that's you potentially, or if you've taken a battery that has classified you into the steadiness category. So some of the things I want to just read through: assurance, stability, to be safe, to belong. Someone with those characteristics. And then the question is, how should people interact with that person? And it talks about in the study guide, allow plenty of time for them to make decisions. Somebody who's steady.
Patience.
Patience with somebody who's steady. So knowing who you're talking to prior to having a conversation with them helps, right? Knowing that if you've got a high D person, you just need to get to the facts and get to business, can help you. If you've got an I person, that person may want to talk a lot. So let them. I wouldn't say a word. I would just ask questions. Never say a word to a person like that. So in the bottom line for a D person wants to be in control of the situation. And we can write those in on your social guide. For I, we talk about influence and relationships. And then S, safety. They don't want to make any bad decisions. So you're a person that may go look at a few houses and then be like, yeah, I'll get back to you every single time. I really like this house, but I'll get back to you tomorrow, even in today's market. Maybe that's an S. So how would you deal with somebody that's an S? Anyone?
A little push.
A little push, okay. Cool. Anybody agree or disagree?
I disagree. I think the more you push them, the more they withdraw.
Okay, more you push, the more you withdraw.
Maybe it's about the way that you push. If you try to really relate to where they're coming from, then you can kind of come from contribution.
Okay, so the way that you push, sure.
You probably need to come prepared with information that they might need to make the decision.
Right.
Cool, what information?
Well, that's based on getting to know them and their needs a little bit, but you know,
Yeah.
once you've interacted with them, I'd come prepared with disclosures and make sure you have, you know, relevant information about the property and taxes, or, you know, just kind of what's going on with that.
Help them make a good decision, maybe? Come with things that, you know, here's the facts that the owner knows. You know, those type of things. If there is an inspection, okay, cool, maybe get an inspection. If there's not all of that, right?
Market data.
Market data, sure.
Here's why we need to move fast
Yeah.
in today's market. I'm not saying you need to move on this property, but when we find one, we do need to move fast.
Yeah, market data, sure. And then compliance is the C. They like to know lots of facts and details. Avoid conflict, avoid mistakes. They want time to think. And bottom line is basically a very detail-oriented thinker. So when dealing with someone who's a detail-oriented thinker, what are some ways that you would deal with that person?
Facts and statistics.
Statistics, okay, cool, yeah.
details about property, about process and everything.
Yeah. I'm probably, and I've never taken a disc profile. I've taken a lot of personality type and temperament type things and stuff like that. And I used to teach this stuff too. I'm probably a high D on the disc if I was gonna say it there. Possibly even in the S, I don't know, if I just have to take the battery. But the big thing you have to remember when building rapport is, doesn't matter what you are. So we can sit around and talk about what I am all day long, doesn't matter. My job is to know enough about the person so that I know how to have a conversation with them in their style. So that they're more comfortable, not me. See what I'm saying? Any questions on that? Comments? Anyone add to, please?
Something in, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it relates, but it's maybe mixing all this together a little bit. When I think back on some of my transactions, some of my more difficult transactions that turned out to be difficult was probably because I didn't understand what they really needed enough.
Okay, so some of your most difficult transactions were because you didn't understand what they needed.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the house that you're looking for, but like I didn't understand everything that was behind that.
Right.
So I think a lot of times for me, when we're talking about this, it's like, well, how do you get that information without asking them to take a profile test, you know?
Yeah. So markers, right? Markers, conversations with what people say. And again, I'm a little more trained than most people in this stuff. So if you tell me that I think this house is okay, that tells me something. What's it tell me?
You're unsure.
It tells me that you're a C. Or you could be an introverted person because you think to speak versus speak to think, right? Or you say, I feel like this house. Listen to that. Listen to somebody say think and feel. The more a person says feel, the more of a feeler they are. It doesn't mean that they're in their feelings. They can be very steady and conscientious people and very, very, solid people. But when you listen to that, you need to appeal to their feelings. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to cry at every turn of the century, but you need to appeal to their feelings. If you have a logical person, they're gonna use the word think more often. So I know that I'm a logical person, so I choose to use the word feel to throw people off significantly all the time. But again, I know how to do that because years of doing that stuff. So, and again, I'd love to get into this disc thing too. I know KW uses the KPA now and some other things, but when you listen to the person, when you're talking to them and you pick up on those things that they say, you can start to understand where they generally fit. And so you can talk to them in a way that they want to be talked to. And you might be wrong, right? You got to go back and fix that later sometimes too. But it helps to at least listen to where they're coming from and then go from there.
That also made me understand myself better than,
And help you understand yourself, sure.
to understand others.
Absolutely. Building a rapport, we talked about it a little bit. Nicole talked about the Ford. What is that? And what does that mean?
It's an acronym.
Okay.
F is for family.
Yeah.
What is their family home life like? O is for occupation. What do they do for a living? R is for recreation. What do they enjoy in their free time? And D is for dreams. What do they want to do if they could do anything?
So when getting to know somebody, how do you find those out? And then when once you've gotten to know somebody, I guess, and then you're trying to build some rapport, how do you find those out?
A very rigidly scripted conversation.
Through a scripted conversation, sure. Yeah. And these, of course, would be people that you don't know, right? If I'm asking you about your family, then I probably don't know you. But, those types of things.
Oh, you have two families. Oh, okay.
Yeah. 2 families.
Yeah.
Jeez, that's too much. So it's just about asking questions, right? Getting to know them, having a conversation and listening. So this paragraph at the bottom of page 11, let's first, if everybody has it, does everybody have it or some people? I don't have any extras, I'm sorry. Could we have, let's go with Michael Rice. Read me that first paragraph in the big box here that talks about Diana, please.
Hello.
Hi.
When she was working as an agent, Diana, CEO of KW Maps Coaching at Keller Williams Realty International, always asked about a person's occupation. She used that knowledge to create a scenario that her lead could relate to. Diana often found it necessary to help her potential customers understand the value of her experience and expertise. Diana
Cool. Hey, thanks, Michael.
Okay.
Justin, next paragraph, please.
Diana recalls a time when she was trying to get an appointment with a policeman who had a friend that was new in the real estate business, and the officer was leaning toward working with his friend. Diana said, "If you were in a shootout, who would you rather be with? A rookie or someone who has been in 200 shootouts before and knows what can happen and what can go wrong?"
Man, stealing your friends.
The officer let Diana know that his life was not at stake when buying a house. Diana replied, "No, but your financial future is." The officer signed a contract with her quickly.
Randy, finish this out for me, please.
Okay. Similarly, Diana used this technique to relate to school teachers. Have you ever had a student and they just weren't getting it? She could also relate to doctors and nurses. If you don't watch the vital signs, what will happen to your patient? The response is that something bad could happen. Then Diana would let her potential seller know that she watches vital signs in the market. And that is important because if an agent doesn't watch the vital signs, a house could sit on the market a long time without selling.
Cool. So give me some ahas from that paragraph. I had one. Right? You heard it. She'll steal your friends in a heartbeat. No, any other ahas?
It just kind of comes back to mirroring and matching. You just pick out what what's relevant to their life, to their profession. And they could be an architect. Would you rather have somebody build you a skyscraper that's done it 100 times,
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's something that I think a lot of us lack in here is experience to lean on, personal experience. But
I mean, you got a ton of personal experience, I'm sure.
well, yeah, but not in real estate in particular. And
Yeah.
I'd have to rely
Me
on
either.
well, yeah, right.
How about that? No, seriously.
Okay.
And we'll go through it here in a second. I'll go through it. Me either. So, September 2020? I started this deal.
Yeah, but you've done enough transactions where you
Sure.
walked up and down the road a whole bunch.
Yeah, well, yes, I did a bunch of transactions, but all that is conversion. I'm doing all I did was the same things that you guys can do. I just did it more often.
So what worked for you?
Ask questions. It's easy. And then I'm me, right? I am unapologetically Brian Fisher, 100% of the time. You get me. I'm very good at reading people. I can read you, but you get me on the back end. I will give you what you need to build that rapport, all those things, but you get me. And we'll get into some of the stuff here in a little bit. I'll give you guys some real tips that I use, and some things that I say to people, that sometimes converts to an appointment, sometimes converts to no longer in my database. Let's put it that way. But seriously, and that's okay. Like, those people are probably people that I didn't want to work with anyway. And they didn't want to work with me. Let's move on and go about business and have a happy life. Right? So building rapport is extremely important. Tips for getting an appointment. This is what we're really here for, right? We're gonna go through 10 tips for getting an appointment. And in these tips, we're gonna go through about 5 at a time and just kind of discuss a few of them in depth. First one. What's the first tip for getting an appointment? Brian Jackson, can you tell me what the first tip for getting an appointment is? If you're paying attention. Anybody online? Levi, Willinger, Craig Shirts, Michael Rice, somebody. That's the whole middle row.
Ask for the appointment.
Ask for the appointment, okay? Ask for it. How do we ask?
Straight up ask.
Okay, cool. When?
Would you like to meet? After you fill a report.
Okay, sure. Maybe, right? When the opening is there, and when you feel like the opening is there, that's what I do. If I'm at an open house and a neighbor comes over, I'm gonna try to get an appointment right there. I don't wanna leave the neighborhood without the appointment on my calendar. So whether that be the door knock prior, at the open house if they came, or when I revisit the neighborhood a few days later. Again, it's all prospecting stuff, right? But, you know, I'm asking, and I'll ask you right there. And if you tell me no, I will ask for another time. I'll ask again, and we'll continue that conversation. It's just ask. And if the answer is no, 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 okay, cool. Can I have something, right? Either I didn't provide enough value to you or for you to give me something, whether that be your email, your phone number, an appointment to phone call, whatever that is. But I'm asking for something every single time that I talk to somebody. Be an expert in your market. How do you do this? How do you guys become experts in the market?
Educate yourself, do
How?
CMAs.
CE? Okay, cool.
CMAs.
CMAs, sure. Yeah, educate yourself.
Go look at property, go to open houses.
Open houses,
Study.
vacant houses, study.
Statistics that are, I mean, know what the market is currently like. If somebody says, you know, well, how many houses, like, I can't find a house. Well, yeah, no kidding. We're down a third from where we were last year.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
YouTube. Every day. I'm on YouTube every night. Yep. There's new market statistics every single day and they're national, I get it, but they're just something with generalized basic numbers that I can remember, right? And I need to be able to remember those for about a week until they update.
What channels do you like?
I watch a bunch of them. I don't know. And I was talking to somebody, talking to Trey and some other people on, I think Tish this morning. There's a million doom and gloom videos out there. Get it. There's a million, the market's great videos. Get it. I like to look at the analytical stuff because that gives me stuff that I can actually pull out of it. They're very boring sometimes, but that's one way I get, become an expert. Team meetings is a great way to become an expert. The statistics that we talk about in here on a weekly basis, that Mike sends out, my wife steals those and puts them on our Facebook, every single week. It's great. It's fantastic. But coming here and getting to talk to each other about what's actually going on is just one step above. Instead of being knowledgeable, you become a little bit more of an expert. Come from, be confident in your ability. This is where practice comes into play, right? Some people are naturally confident. Got it. Practice, 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 study, 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 study. I promise you, there's zero replacement for hard work, right? If you want to sell a bunch of houses, you got to be super smart on what's going on in the market. It just has to happen. You have to be the person when they ask you a question, you got to know the answer, or at least what the recent answer is. Last week, what the NAR statistics said was, but let me get you some updated stuff. What's your email? See what I'm saying? So again, these are just becoming an expert so that I can give them what they need. Practice scripts, practice handling objections, practice training. I watch salespeople on YouTube talk to other people, and I'll tell you the best people for me are car salesmen. This is so fast, right? Everything in the transaction is super fast. So watching a car salesman, a really good car salesman, deal with objections is absolutely watching magic sometimes when it comes to that. And then listen, have a list of questions and then listen. Ask, but pay attention. What questions would you want to ask to lead them to getting an appointment?
That's the part that I struggle because I'm always straightforward.
When are you looking to sell next?
Where?
When are you looking to sell next?
When? Right now.
Not right now?
I know,
Oh, you are looking right now?
yeah.
Well, fantastic. Is there a time that I could come over and value your property for you?
Oh, okay, sure.
You told me, you gave me the answer,
Yeah.
you know, and that's super quick, but it's just when?
But then
Or do you have a timeline?
when they say, no, I'm thinking about it, but in a few months.
That's perfect. I love a few months. So then what? So we have somebody who said that they're ready to sell in a few months. Okay.
How do I set up the appointment?
How do you set up the appointment for them?
Like, they don't want to do anything right now. They want to do it in a few months.
Sure.
So I ask for an
You
appointment.
don't.
Okay,
Is that the right time to ask for an appointment?
okay, I see.
Well, you could.
You could.
You could say, I can actually help you with a few things that you may need, point out to you to get your house
Okay,
ready to
cool.
sell.
Yeah.
And then that's a reason for them to meet with you now.
Sure.
Or you could ask them for permission, can I follow up with you over
Yeah.
the next few months?
Mhm.
I understand you're not ready yet, that's okay, but I'd like to stay in touch with you if that's.
And
okay.
that's where I would go with it probably, 9 times out of 10.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not ready now. Maybe it'll be 3 months from now. Okay, is it okay if I stay in touch with you between now and then? And a 3 month from now would probably be a 2 week from now phone call. I'm gonna give you a call in about 2 weeks. Is that okay? I'm gonna do it. Is that okay? Yes, you just gave me permission. So so again, it's the way, right? The way that I say things or ask things sometimes, it leads to the answer. Come from contribution. What can I do to help you? And this is what Nathan was kind of talking about. How do I become valuable to you? So in that 3 months, do they need an estate sale person? Do they need somebody to come get rid of junk removal? Do they need an electrician? Do they need all of those things? Sure, you could be valuable to them all the way along the way and earn that business. Begin with the end in mind. What does that mean? Anyone?
If I'm knocking on the door, I want to get an appointment. So I was just kind of thinking about this a couple days ago anyway. Like, you start here, you knock on the door, think about appointment, yes, right there. That way, when you're talking to them and in the natural flow of conversation, you don't keep taking left turns and get lost in the weeds. Always be able to revert back to that path to the end goal right here, which is get to the appointment. Get them to say yes to an appointment or whatever the next step is that you are in the transaction.
Yes. But get them to say yes when they want to. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to push somebody to sell their house or to buy one, right? No, I don't think any of us really are, but we just want to be the person to help them when the time comes. And it's coming. So in order to get that appointment, when, right? The goal is always in mind. The goal is always in mind to get the appointment. What's my motivation to reach that goal? And then how much energy am I willing to expend to reach that specific goal of that house? See what I'm saying? So when I'm willing to expound energy to get that appointment in the future, my goal is always there. Hey, I'm gonna get the appointment. So we have that in mind, absolutely. And then that motivation to get there is extremely important. Seek agreement. That's what I kind of did a second ago is lead them to a yes, lead somebody to a yes, right? I'm gonna do this. Is that okay? Sure. Even if they don't want to say yes, sometimes people will just be agreeable and say yes to that. And then it is permission for me to get back with them, even though that sometimes permission is not really permission. But here's the deal. Come from value the next time you talk to them, because it's about making sure that they understand that you are a valuable person in their life too. So come back to that end in mind and then come from conversation. But the big thing is getting to yes. Some of the ways that we can get to, some of the 3 ways that the book talks about is trial closes. It talks about assumptive closes and it talks about tie downs as far as seeking agreement. So a trial close says something along the lines of, I'll pull a complete market report together and show it to you during our presentation. You're assuming that there's going to be a presentation ahead of time. Respond quickly. What are we talking about when we say respond quickly?
Follow
Follow-up. Sure. So when your phone rings or a new, what the guide lesson plan is talking about here, the way that I see it is return your calls quickly. So if a contact contacts you or a sign calls you, it's important that you call them quickly. If a lead comes into your CRM through one of these or many other ways, speed to lead's important, right? We've heard that, I think, since day one of being here, speed to lead, right? They say that, what is it? Within 10 minutes is what will help you get conversion faster. So how can you get speed to lead when it comes to those different things, when those people coming in to your database? We all hopefully have some way that leads are funneling in to our database in some, or excuse me, contacts are funneling into our database. I don't want to call it a lead quite yet. But we hopefully have some way that contacts are coming in. So how quickly are you getting to them? And then what's your system? Anyone? How can you get faster? That's the other question.
Face-to-face appointment.
What was that?
Get a face-to-face appointment.
Get a face-to-face appointment? Sure, yeah, but when a lead comes in to your database and we're trying to respond to them within 10 minutes, 5-10 minutes, how can we do that?
Push notifications on your app if you use Command or Brevity.
Push notifications,
Mhm.
smart plans.
Leave your cell phone on in team meeting.
Leave your cell phone on in team meeting, sure. Yeah, all of those different things, smart plans. I use smart plans like crazy, and they trigger. So lead comes in via ad. Auto smart plan, auto text, gone. Within seconds, minutes, those different things. So speed to lead is important to me, so I automate those. Because I'm not watching my CRM as people come in, you know, those random, the random names that come in. I'm not watching it that closely. I'm watching it very closely for who?
Ready, willing, and able buyers.
Ready, willing, and able buyers. That's where I'm spending my personal energy so that I can reach my goal, right? That's where I'm willing to spend my energy, is those people. I spend other energy, but it's not mine. I automate that as much as I can. And then communicate in person, being the last step. So those face-to-face interactions, whether it be a coffee shop conversation, whether it be a chance conversation in an open house or a door knock or whatever. But asking somebody for an appointment in person is much more difficult for them to say no to than over the phone. And that's the same for anybody. You know, when you're standing there talking to anybody about anything, hey, can I get, 10 minutes of your time tomorrow? Sure, no problem. It's really hard for them to say no. What are some of the openings that you guys see, or some of the triggers, keys, when you're communicating with a contact to ask for that appointment?
Any questions?
Yeah, and well, no, just like, so how do you know? How do you know when it's a good time to say, hey, I got some time next week, Wednesday on my calendar. Would you like to sit down and talk about houses that are currently on the market?
So like, you've built up a rapport, you've done well at your connecting. You can see that you can help them. Oh, so you guys are new home buyers. I can see you've got a good job. You've got a good job. You've got a kid that you're planning on having here in the next year. You don't like where you're at, blah, blah, blah. You know what? I think I can help you. And in fact, I've got some time on Sunday. Would you like to come in and sit down and I'll share with you a little more about the buying process.
Yeah,
And it's just a little presentation I put together.
but how do you know to ask that?
Because I've seen that I can help them and I've seen that they are genuinely interested in.
Okay, stop right there.
Very good, that's one.
What'd he say?
When exactly, when I know they have some interest.
When
in-
they are interested.
Yes.
Qualifying questions.
Qualifying questions. Cool. Go on a little further, Michael. What do you mean?
Just the stuff that he was talking about, how you're asking if they're ready, willing, and able. And if they're, have they been pre-approved? Have they been, are they actively searching? You know?
Sure. Yeah, all of those. Anybody else? When do you know that it's time for you to ask?
I think when they lean into you, like when you are meeting with the client and instead of them saying, oh yeah, that's great, you know, and you give them market information,
Yeah.
they are not wanting to leave. They want to keep talking. That means they might want something from you.
Okay, so if their body language says that it's inviting. Absolutely. Anyone else? No? Okay, so I'm looking for some of those similar things. I'm looking for body language. I'm looking for words. If I'm in person, I'm looking for body language, right? If I'm at an open house or whatever. But I'm also just asking them, like, what's your timeline look like? And I just want to know. I personally don't want to have an appointment, and it's okay. The book's going to be different, but I personally don't have an appointment with somebody until they're getting close to that ready, willing, and able. Up until then, it's those smart plans and it's contacts and it's nurturing and 8x8s and all of that. So I don't personally ask for the appointment until they're really ready. And hey, what's your timeline look like? I'm looking in the next 3 months. Then you and I need to sit down and we need to talk. We need to get together, talk about the process, all of those different things. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm just looking for that little bit of an opening every single time. And sometimes you get told no. Like I said, it's not a big deal. Ask again. I got told no to a listing appointment 3 times at an open house. This is like 3 or 4 weeks ago. And the 4th time I asked, I had an appointment next week. So, or not next week, a couple weeks ago, sold the house the week after. So that's 4 times in the same conversation, right? No is not the right answer.
Same conversation.
In the same conversation, they told me from the get-go, they were gonna sell their house. I promise you, you're not leaving my site without an appointment. They were talking about selling their house and moving to Kabul, and they're great people, super sweet old couple. I love them to death. I didn't know them beforehand. They came to the open house because we were door knocking in the neighborhood, passing out flyers. And I ended up asking 4 times. They said, first time I asked for a Tuesday, like I always specify the day. I always specify a day and time. Can we get together at Tuesday at 4? On Tuesday at 4? And again, it's just more specificity for me. They said, no, we're going out of town. Okay, cool. When are you guys coming back? We get to talking a little bit more. Where are you guys going? A little bit more, right? All those conversations. Cool. Second time. No, it's a bad day. No, I don't think we're ready yet. How about Tuesday of 2 weeks from now? Sure. Cool. Call them a week from then. Follow up. Hey, are we still on for Tuesday from a week from now? Yes. Cool. All of that. And it's just ask sometimes. I asked at the wrong times 3 times. Asked at the right time once. Had I stopped at 3, I'd never get that listing. So, it's always like that, though. It seems like I say that it's not always like that. Some people it's just yes right away. Getting the most from the internet. Who's got internet leads? Anyone? Anybody close them? Nobody closes them? Somebody closing them, because I guarantee you some of the leads that are in my database now own houses because I've called them and they told me that. So somebody is converting them other than just me I don't convert them super well, but I convert them well enough to continue to run ads. They're super cheap. Myth, internet inquiries are not very good. They are just different. I think that they're just like any other lead. They're probably, big pile. Just like everything else, living the funnel. We have the big pile of internet leads, and it's a lot of people just like to click on ads. It's cool. Some people don't know what ad they're clicking on, and then they have 4 different agents calling them. Here is one way to come from value when it comes to internet leads. Email them. So my smart plan, for contacting an internet lead goes text, email for 8 days.
8 days, every day.
Every day. Text, email for 8 days. That's what I use. And probably day 4 is when they usually start calling me back or texting me back. It's usually 4th or 5th day, if they're going to contact me back.
And what happened after the 8th day? If you don't hear back from the person,
They go on a quarterly email. They go on my monthly emails. They go on Neighborhood Nurtures if I have that info. They continue to get information from me every single week via some sort of thing. Video email, something that I really like to get into and I haven't yet, is actually embedding some videos in my emails. Seems really cool and interesting. I've had people do it to me. And then sending somebody a CMA. When you get a listing lead in, I sent out some postcards a week or 3 ago, just random marketing and prospecting type stuff. Got an email back, hey, your thing said you give us a free CMA. Sure, it's on its way. Knocked out a CMA real quick. Continue to nurture, right? They're not ready for an appointment yet. I can tell. We've only emailed. We have not talked in person yet. But
What's your email say? Like your typical 8 back and forth, 8 day?
I'd have to pull it up. I'm happy to pull that stuff up
Just
for
like
you and show
a
you.
general gist of it?
Yeah, so generally it's, hey, you clicked on one of the homes that we posted online. Do you have any questions about it? Or any other houses on the market? I think it says something like that.
How about your video? What do you say?
I don't know. I haven't done any yet.
Okay.
I don't know yet. We're gonna figure that out in I don't know, 6 months or so, maybe 10. Anybody else have any way that they are converting or contacting or talking to internet leads? Anybody online?
Apparently, I'm doing it wrong. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Never mind. Online.
We just got started with it, so I don't have any feedback yet.
Yeah. The whole rest of this lesson is really dedicated to scripts and practicing scripts. So this is way more fun, I think. I don't know. It's tough for the online crowd to practice scripts. I don't know how we're gonna work that quite yet. I didn't think about it. But that's where we're gonna be dedicated to. So, questions to ask sellers. Let's go there. Sorry, we messed up. There we go. Yeah, questions to ask sellers. When sellers call you, they're asking, hopefully they're contacting you, but I don't know. That doesn't happen to me very often. The sellers just call me. You ask pre-qualification questions for them like what? When it comes down to sellers. How'd they find me?
I don't know, I never had somebody calling me.
No? Okay,
No, I'm pretty new.
gotcha. You will. People will call you. It'll be random.
Same questions for me as buyers, frankly. I want to know their timeline, their motivation, what the plan is on the other end, so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so same questions that you're asking your buyers about. Cool. So we have some questions to ask sellers scripts, I think. in the back of your books. That's where we're gonna head next. It's in the appendix. I'm trying to find mine too. So we're gonna talk, we're just gonna kind of go through little by little this, it's on page 68 of your book. The pre-listing lead sheet, and its scripts is what it talks about. So some of the things that we're looking at is motivation, the house, financials, and then tracking type things. So 4 different things if somebody were to contact you about potentially listing their house, or vice versa, if you were doing that. So it's, first conversation, if we're talking about trying to convert a lead that we know is currently ready, willing, and able to sell. We know that's already happening because we've already got this person in our database and they're a lead. How do I convert them to that listing appointment? And what script do you all use, or do you categorize it that way? And if you don't, try to for this lesson so that we can use a script that would make sense. So I know the person. I know that they're a lead, so they're ready, willing, and able to sell. What does my conversation, whether it be in person or over the phone, with the goal in mind of getting an appointment? How does that go? I'll be the seller. We have some ideas on the paper, so we can start there. But and feel free to take a little bit of liberty if you want to. Don't just stay with the paper, but let's follow kind of a plan, right, of how that conversation, we want that conversation to go, and go from there. So whoever's got page 68 open, let's talk a little bit. I'm the seller. I'm ready to sell my house. I don't know if I'm willing.
I always ask where, and that's the first question on here, where are you wanting your next home to be?
So let's just start, right? You called me. Hello.
Hey, wait, I called you? Hang on. Yeah.
I'm talking to Andy right now if you're online, sorry. Ring, ring. Hello.
Thanks for submitting your contact information on Facebook. Where are you wanting your next home to be located at?
Okay, stop for a second. Remember, I know the person.
Oh, yeah.
I've built the rapport with the person. I'm focusing on taking that person from a lead to an appointment. You know me. We've talked.
Yeah.
Okay? So really focus on that conversation alone. You know that I want to sell. You know that, I'm ready, willing, and able. How do you get me to sit down with you? So ring, ring. Hello.
Where are you wanting to move to again?
I think I'm gonna probably move to Fairgrove.
Fairgrove?
Yeah.
What do you like about Fairgrove?
I don't know. I kind of like that it's flat up there. Yeah, it's flatter.
So are you wanting a place with some land?
I'd like to put a cow on it, at least.
Just
Yeah.
one cow?
Just one, yeah, I think. I'm not much of a farmer, but I'll try to figure things out.
Okay, so maybe like a little hobby farm type place?
Yeah, something like that.
And you got family?
I do.
Wife, kids?
Yeah, I've got a wife, three boys.
Where are you moving from?
So my current house is in Nixa.
Okay. Yeah, and when do you want to have this done by? I mean,
We're thinking about moving in 3 to 4 weeks, or 3 to 4 months, sorry. It's 3 to 4
Wow,
months.
we got it.
We're thinking about 3 to 4 months, being ready to put our house on the market.
Great. Have you bought and sold before?
Yes.
Or I should say, have you sold probably before? Okay. I think it'd be really good for us to sit down and kind of get on the same page and talk through the process sometime. Would you be open to Thursday lunch?
No.
No?
Sure, yeah, so, but you kind of get where we're going, right? So we've talked to each other before. We know each other. Kind of. I'm trying to get in front of you to sell your house. Where are we gonna meet? All of those things that you talked about in the last, in those other sessions, like setting the consultation, having all of those things. Those are things in your script you've got to have in your mind. Where do you want the appointment to be at? For a listing, I want the appointment to be at somebody's house. That's just where I want it. I want to see the house. Personally, for a buyer, we can meet anywhere, here, whatever. Anybody else online as far as that goes, when it comes to converting these leads? Anybody else? Script practice. Let's play a little bit.
Which script?
Doesn't matter. You're a seller. I'm a buyer. I'm an agent. We'll just go. I'll play, right?
All right.
Ring, ring. Justin.
Hello.
Hey, Justin. It's Brian Fisher with KW. How you doing?
Hey, good.
Good, man. Is it a good time?
Yeah, yeah.
Say,
It's
what did
always
I do? Stop. What did I do?
asked a really dumb question.
No, you got him to say yes.
No, but
Looking for
if you
opportunity.
call me and I answer, it's a good time.
If it's not, though, people will tell you if it's not a good time. They'll still answer their phone, but you can hear them in the background. Is it a good time? Will sometimes get somebody to let their guard down, right? It's those affirmation questions. Is it a good time to talk? Well, hey, Justin, is it a good time to talk?
Sure.
Hey, so a couple months ago, we were talking and you had talked about potentially putting your house on the market. Is that still something that you're looking at doing in the future?
My goodness, the way these houses are going right now, I don't know.
So what would be a reservation with listing at this point?
I just don't know where I'm gonna move to.
Okay, so if I could help you find those places to move to, would you potentially think about listing your house?
Yeah, but I just know that I don't know what I don't know, and there's just too much going on right now. And
Sure, what are some questions that you have about the market?
well, it seems like every house that I see is sold every time I look at the market. Every time I find something that I'm interested in or could be, it's gone.
Sure, it is really fast right now. I get it. That's a concern. It's a concern of many people. What is the biggest concern of you in this fast market?
I just want to make sure that I get the most money out of my house and
Sure.
that I don't buy an overpriced house.
Right, yeah, and everybody's saying that same thing. We all think that way. I want to do the same thing for me. I want to do the same thing for you. Would you have some time next week on Tuesday to get together and go through some of the houses that are currently on the market? So we can look at the potential for you going forward?
You know, Tuesday's not really a great day for me. I've got a surgery going on then.
Sure. Sorry to hear that. I hope it goes well. How about I follow up 3 days after your surgery? Would that be okay?
You know, it depends on what time. I've got to pick up my daughter.
Sure, you tell me what time.
Well, like 5 o'clock maybe.
5 p.m. I'll give you a shout at 5 p.m. Friday next week. Sound good?
Yeah.
Perfect. Hey, I look forward to talking to you next week. Talk to you later, whatever.
Are you
Yeah.
generally that forward?
Yeah,
with
absolutely.
That conversation? Well, why I ask, it seems like a lot of people want you to have more camaraderie or more fluff on it or.
Depends. It depends again on what, depends on the relationship, I guess. Depends on how much contact I've had with the person. Depends on what I know. You know what I mean? You call me thinking about selling your house, I'm gonna set an appointment for tomorrow. You're not gonna call anybody else.
You're motivated.
But you're not gonna call anybody else. I'm not gonna give you that opportunity. You know what I mean? Like, that's the way that I look at it is, I'm gonna find you tomorrow or the next day, but that's my opinion and that's the way that I function. When we're talking about that lead to appointment, we're just looking at, hey, I know this person is ready to go. Gotta turn it to an appointment. Any questions, any feedback on my stuff? Give me feedback too, because I'm
Brian,
at the time. Yes.
do you do a buyer's agency agreement when you sign the appointment immediately?
Depends. And I know that's the wrong answer, everyone in KW. I apologize. It just depends.
Why wouldn't you? Tell me why if you've
What
got
if I
them.
don't like them?
Okay.
How about that?
Yeah, that's,
You ever work with somebody you didn't like?
yeah.
We talked about this morning, Tish and Trey and I will tell somebody in a buyer's consultation specifically, that we'll go through the documentation. I have a printed copy in every consultation that I have, that we go through. But I'm not gonna ask you to sign that right now, because we need a little bit more time. I feel like we need a little bit more time to build some trust. And I wanna build that trust as your agent, and I want you to build that trust with me as your client. I wanna work with you if you wanna work with me. So let's talk about that here in a couple of days after I've shown you a house or two. We'll show houses the next day. You know, and I know you're not supposed to show houses without buyer's rep, I get it. But I don't know that I necessarily want to work with that person yet either, sometimes. If I know that I want to work with them and they want to work with me, we're signing paperwork right then. Absolutely, but depends. So.
What would be a person that you would not want to work with? What would they?
Well, and personality clashes?
Really?
Yeah, I don't like working with people that I don't want to be around. Like if you and I are not gonna be like a similar page, then we're probably, like, I'm not gonna fight with you about selling your house. This should be a decent experience. And if you and I have completely different mindsets towards that, then you need to work with somebody else. And it's better for you. I feel like it's better for my sanity. But I had a listing last year that I tried to fire 3 times. She was miserable to deal with for me. She would have been great for somebody else. I could have referred that out. At the point in my life, I wasn't gonna do that, but you know, now I just don't choose not to. So my sanity is more important than that to me. So anything else as far as the question to ask sellers? Question to ask buyers. Let's ask the buyers some questions. What questions would you ask a buyer?
Have you been pre-qualified?
Have you been pre-qualified? Yeah, sure. That's a good one. And if not?
Do you know a good lender?
Do you know a good lender? And if not?
I have 3 or 4, and one who specializes specifically with first-time buyers, and she's got over a decade of experience. Why don't I hook you guys up?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So those different things. A question that I like to ask is, what's your goal? What's the goal that you have currently in buying a house?
Well, that stick could go any direction.
Sure can. But it leads to a really good conversation. Usually. What's your goals? And then we can really get into something about how to really help them as a person.
I like that.
When you're buying a house, what are your goals? What's your goals in the future? I have a couple right now that were looking for a house. They told me that they weren't gonna be looking for 3 to 6 months. I told the wife before they left the conversation, and I was like, hey, I know you guys aren't in a hurry, but I have a feeling that you're gonna call me in 2 to 3 days and wanna go look at houses. And she did. 2 days later, they were 6 months away. You know, it's just one of those, they were more ready, willing, and able than they thought they were. I felt that a little bit before when we were talking on the phone. So I went ahead and set the appointment. And we're still looking. I mean, you know, it's tough, but that's what it is. So some of the questions to talk to buyers about. There's the whole scripts in the back. Let's go through some scripts. We're gonna take 10 minutes. There's 4 in here. I don't know how have you guys been doing this online as far as partnering up? Have you for activities?
Nah, we're just following along, basically.
Okay, cool. So buyer scripts. Can we do, I was gonna say, let me mute us in here. And then, do I have 2, or actually just 1 volunteer online and then 1 in here to have a buyer conversation? And then whoever's online is the buyer. Anybody?
I mean, I can do it. I don't care to do it.
Perfect. Thanks, appreciate it. So who wants to be the agent?
You need an agent?
We know, remember, this is a lead.
Are we reading the scripts or are we just?
So, yeah, the script is a guide, right? Script's a guide. Let's go to the script. Let's start there. Like, you want to introduce yourself in that conversation, but let's start with the script. Get those qualifying questions answered along the way, and then get it to an appointment. So,
I'll just fumble through it.
ready to go?
Sure.
Cool. So we get better through practice.
What page are we on the
So
script that we're going through?
I have page
30 through 40 on there.
So on working with buyers, I'm looking at 31. However, what I want to talk about as far as, we're looking at page 60 for the script.
Okay.
So in-town buyer lead sheet prompts. So questions, just questions.
Okay.
To get you there.
Okay.
So these lead sheets to me are answers to questions that I want to have. And then I formulate questions around those.
It's like the
Those lead
skeleton.
sheets. This is just the guide to get us through a conversation. So you're gonna be calling through the magic box in the sky, and talking to Brian. And Brian is your lead.
Okay, ring, ring, ring.
Hello?
Hello, is this Brian Jackson?
Yes, it is.
Hi, Brian. My name is Nathan Belanton. I'm an agent with Keller Williams. How are you doing today?
Good, Nathan. Doing good. How are you?
Doing great. Hey, I just had a few questions for you about what you're looking for in a home. Got your information online. One of the important questions is I want to make sure I'm not interfering with any existing relationships you already have established. Are you already working with a buyer's agent?
You know, the guy that sold us the place we own now, I mean, I probably owe it to him to have a conversation with him, but no, we haven't signed anything with anybody or anything like that.
Okay, well, so you're open to having a conversation with me in that regard to see possibly if I'm a better fit than the gentleman you've worked with before?
Well, sure. I've got a few minutes. We can visit.
Okay, all right. Is it just yourself that's purchasing a home, or are there other family members that are involved in the decision making?
You know, it's probably going to be a smart idea for me to get my wife involved at some point. But you know, she's not here right now. Ultimately, I mean, she'll go along with whatever I say, I'm sure. You know how that goes.
Well, I mean, I don't want to get you in trouble or me. So we definitely want to involve your wife at the right time. But yeah, thank you for that. I certainly understand. I'm married as well, so I understand keeping everyone happy. So
For sure. Sidebar outside of the script. If my wife heard me say that, I'd probably get slapped. So
I was waiting for something. So can we stop there for a second? Just real quick, and then we'll continue. Feedback. Break it down little by little, and then let's give feedback through each section. So how are we doing so far in this conversation? We know who Brian is ahead of time. They're a lead in our database, and we're contacting them because we know that they're going to be ready, willing, and able here soon, whatever that is. So how are we doing so far?
One of the things that I would like to say is when he was talking about the other agent and saying that I am a better fit, I kind of feel like you're dogging on another agent, and so you might want to reword that.
Yeah, and it was a question.
What would be a suggestion for rewording it then? Because in my mind, I opened it with, I don't want to step on the other person's toes. And obviously you're only going to use me if you feel like I'm a better fit, not that I think I'm a better fit.
Right.
The client's the one that has to make that decision.
So this is a perfect example of two different people, two different personality types, knowing your client, right? Crystal had a problem with what you said. Brian didn't. Brian Fisher. I had zero problem with what you asked and how you asked it. But Crystal did. She sensed something else based off of her personality and all this. So knowing that person, and thank you, Crystal, for chiming in. That's helpful extremely.
No problem.
Knowing who you're talking to is extremely important. So Brian Jackson, would that bother you the way that he asked that or talked about the other agent if you were the buyer?
So it wouldn't, but I will tell you from my experience, I would have followed that up immediately with, oh yeah, who was that agent?
Yeah.
Because if they can't give me their name, they're probably not all that attached to them.
Sure.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Call them out on who the other agent is, and then maybe even.
Well, it's not calling somebody out, it's being inquisitive.
Well, yes, but that's really, you're being inquisitive to them, but to you, you're trying to call them out.
Sure.
But-
It's inquisitive, but it's also taking the temperature of the situation.
That's right. Absolutely. We're doing our job.
We're finding out how much that relationship really is there.
Mhm.
And then I'd probably say, hey, I appreciate that loyalty, and we go with something from there.
Yeah.
Because I do appreciate that loyalty, and if they want to be loyal to that person, then great. That tells me what I need to know. But if they're open to conversation, we'll keep going down that road.
Yeah.
So what if you said, who the other agent was, and then you said, I'm sure Brian Fisher is a great agent.
Yeah.
I respect that if your decision is to continue to work with them. I'd love to have a conversation with you if you're open to considering working with me.
I'll text the other agent. Personally. If you tell me as a buyer, like that you've had a conversation with other agents, like, I'll text them. Because I've been told by buyers that they're not under agency, and they are. Especially if you're in this office, if you get a text from me, hey, I just had, and people have done it to me around here too. Elise Ellis had a listing 2 of my clients went to for an open house last weekend. She called me. It was like, hey, Brian, you had 2 clients show up to an open house. Can you get me some feedback? I didn't even know they showed up. Didn't know they were going at all. So, and maybe that prompts that person to have that conversation too. But I go that route sometimes. It depends on who it is, but who's the agent? How was your experience? Is there
Well, and
anything?
one of the things that I like to follow up with too is like, I would certainly love the opportunity to earn your business.
Yeah.
And that kind of gives people the idea of, oh, they're going to work harder for me.
Yep. Absolutely.
I like that a lot.
And just ask them, are you open to interviewing other agents?
Yeah. That answer better be no when I talk to them. Just joking. So cool. Very good feedback. Very good feedback as far as different personalities and the way we interpret language as well. So that's helpful. Let's continue. I think we're around number 5 on the in-town buyer lead sheet on page 60. Is that where we're about?
Well,
in this conversation?
the next question I was just gonna ask, Brian, who else lives in your home? You mentioned you and your wife, or is there other people that also live in the home?
We do still have one teenager living with us.
Okay, all right, great. How old is your teenager?
16.
16, what a fun age. So we definitely
Oh,
need
if you say so.
enough parking space for at least 3 cars then.
Ideally, yeah.
Okay, well, tell me about the length of time that you're looking for a home. Or have you?
We've been looking off and on for a couple of years. It's not something that's been a priority for us. But now that she is driving, we would love to have a house with a 3-car garage. I'm tired of having to have her move her car or park it in the street or, whatever. So our motivations have changed a little bit in that regard. Still looking for the right deal though. We're not going to just jump.
Yeah, no, I respect that completely. I'm a pretty analytical person myself, and so I have no problem at all with us pursuing all the avenues to make sure that you have a home, that you get a home that you absolutely love. So you said you've been looking for a while. What has held you back from purchasing so far, if you don't mind me asking?
Again, I think it's just we haven't found the right place at the right time. Maybe, there's always that scenario. I don't have a great answer for you. And again, it's not been something that's really been a priority for us. We like to look at houses, so we've been getting out and circulating and we're checking them out online and so on and so forth. So.
Okay, now just to make sure that I understand kind of all the reasons that you're wanting to move and kind of exactly what you're looking for, other than the 3-car garage that you need, what other reasons do you have for wanting to move? And I'm not talking specifically about everything that you want in a new house, but just what else has prompted you, for moving? I mean, obviously you've got a 2-car garage now. If you really wanted to, you could add on a 3rd-car garage. I'm not saying that that's a great idea, but what other motivations do you have for wanting to move?
You know, but we'd like to get into a newer home. We're over in the Parkcrest area in a 70s era home and would love to have something a little bit newer. Of course, we need to stay in the Kickapoo School District because if we move her in the next 2 years, she might kill us in our sleep. So, you know, but other than that, I mean, again, it's not something that's been pressing. I don't know what would be perfect, I guess, at this point is the short answer.
All right, stop for a second. I've heard at least 3 openings personally where I would have maybe asked for an appointment. Am I missing it? Anybody else? If I'm missing it and I'm reading the room wrong, let me know. Go ahead.
I saw one.
You saw one? What did you see?
When he suggested about the 3 parking garage.
Okay, so when,
He was looking, I mean, I guess the buyer was looking for a regular house with 2 parking garage. He suggested 3, and now the buyer wants the 3-car garage instead of the 2. That makes change the price of homes because they varies. And then it's gonna be a different search.
yeah, that's one time for sure.
But see, I would disagree with.
Okay, good.
I think that if you try and, to me, asking for an appointment is asking for a close. That's like, are you ready to buy this? And I think if you do that prematurely, then you risk a no. Whereas I feel like Brian and I have a great rapport building. We got great conversation going. It's not like we're coming to a stall where I've got to like close this and let's get to the appointment. In my opinion, I would continue asking questions and building a little bit more rapport before I just go straight to let's get the appointment.
Joe, that's personality.
I agree. I don't think you have enough information to tie down just yet.
Yeah, so my appointment would not be an appointment to sign a buyer's agent and go look at houses. My appointment would be a sit down to talk about specific houses. Like, if I could find you the perfect house, do you have some, or not, I wouldn't start that way. Do you have some time in the next week or so where I could put together a list of houses that are currently on the market that fit your criteria? We could sit down and go through those together and see what you hate and see what you like.
But see, I think you're more direct than I am. And if you would have asked me that after just the conversation that Brian and I've had, I would say no.
Yep, and again, it's a pitfall of mine. So I heard 3 because I'm direct. You're being very patient and continuing the conversation, right? And I do that as well. I'm just identifying those 3.
But I think if Brian was a direct personality like you are, and I felt like every question that I asked, he's like, God, another question.
Another one.
Then cut to the chase. Let's get an appointment and let's look at houses. But I don't think Brian's as direct as you are.
No, definitely not. Not in this conversation anyway.
Yeah.
I think Brian can be direct if he wants to be probably, but not in this conversation. So really good combo though, and you're right. I just heard them as potentials, right? Not necessarily action items. And everybody acts differently on those different times. Yes, Justin.
What are your 3 openings? Where were the 3?
My 3, everything had to do with the house.
Sure.
When you started talking about it, and it's all about, hey, can I send you a list of houses? Or would you like to sit down, have coffee and go through a list of houses? Can we have a phone call in? Let me set up a phone call in 3 weeks. Those are all appointments to me. You know, it doesn't necessarily have to be face-to-face. I'm looking for the face-to-face, but they're all future contacts and future appointments. They're permission to contact. Permission to contact in the future is extremely important to me. Because if I'm constantly just reaching out without permission, it can kind of be a pest.
But you think in your opinion that even when you have a great conversation going and great rapport, you would want to end it?
I'm not saying end it. All I'm saying is there were 3 opportunities that I heard. Personally, I'm not saying end it at all. I'm saying there are 3 opportunities in there if you're listening to ask. So those are all opportunities. Don't necessarily act on them until you're ready to act on those opportunities. And you will strike out sometimes, no matter when you do it.
Do you ever close like, okay, well, let's go over a list of houses. I'd like some time to blah, 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 blah. And then keep asking them like you've got the fact that they want to go look at a list of houses down. Now, tell me more about what I can go look at to bring you the right houses when we
Sure.
go over them.
Yeah,
Like, so
we could
you
direct this conversation that way.
Yeah, so like you could ask, get the yes, and then keep going with a little bit more qualifying, even though you've already gotten the yes.
I don't disagree with that. But I also think that I always go back to the people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And me showing Brian that I care is building rapport, asking questions, listening, understanding. He's got a 16-year-old, got to stay in Kickapoo and all that. And to me, if I'm too short on that and I set up an appointment, then maybe we brought up that he worked with the agent that sold his house. And maybe if I have a great rapport at the end of this, maybe it makes him not want to reach out to the other agent, where if I cut to the appointment too soon and the appointment's 2 days from now, then maybe he starts thinking, maybe I really should call so-and-so that listed the house. I'd rather just, whenever we get off the phone, Brian has warm fuzzies about working with Nathan.
Sure.
In my opinion.
Is that your goal?
Yeah.
For warm fuzzies?
Warm fuzzies and some future actionable item.
Okay.
An
Cool.
appointment.
So the future actionable is my goal, right?
So
More
you don't want
important.
Brian to have warm
I
fuzzies?
want warm fuzzies along the way, I do. But personally, it's not important.
I love this because you and I have
I'm
different
totally
personalities.
different.
Yeah.
Totally different than you are. I'm very, you will leave with warm fuzzies. We'll leave the thing. I didn't feel a thing, personally. It's hard for me to get the warm fuzzy feeling. It's not my personality. So it's difficult for me to flex out of that. So I have to try and listen and listen and listen. And when you're sitting here saying, no, you're wrong, Brian, I love that. Because probably I am to a person who's not like me.
I love it that you've been successful in real estate.
Sure. Who knows? Who knew that I could do that, right? But anyway, I just make it up.
No, I mean, because to me, as being someone that isn't so direct, if I just met you and had no idea that you were an agent and you've been successful, I would say it's gonna be really hard for you to be successful in real estate. But
Sure.
obviously I'm wrong.
Yeah.
And you've figured out a way to adapt around it.
Yeah, I don't know. I probably messed it all up along the way and just got lucky, like most of us. But it is what it is, right? It's just one of those things. Like I just have the conversations.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
It's better to have that kind of conversation in person or over the phone, because in my case, I like to be straightforward over the phone and build a better rapport in person. Do you think that works or?
Works for me.
Yeah.
Works for me that way, works for me the other way.
Well, and also every client isn't a good fit for every agent.
Right.
Like he said, he would have asked me for the appointment and I would have said no.
Yep.
Because I want you to have more rapport with me before I'm willing to go to coffee with you. I think
Sure.
just, if you had a 2-minute conversation and you invite me to coffee, I don't want to go to coffee
No.
with you.
But
But if we have a good rapport and we've talked for 10 or 15 minutes, I'll go to coffee with you.
Sure.
But
If we talk for 10 or 15 minutes and you ask me to coffee, I'm not going.
yeah, because you're bored, because I'm not direct enough.
Right. And seriously, if we're talking for like 2 minutes and you're like, hey, let's go have a cup of coffee and get in some deep conversations, let's go. That could be really fun. But yeah, no, if it's gonna be super surface level, I ain't going.
That's kind of my opinion too.
Yeah.
Like,
That's how I am.
That's just how I am.
in my experience, if phone call gets more than 5 minutes, people are like,
Yeah.
why are we still talking? This is taking too long. We need to get to another step.
But you have to be able to read that, and I'm not reading that
Again,
Brian is getting annoyed.
Remember, this is an
Right.
initial phone call.
Sure, yeah,
This is not an initial phone call. I want everybody to remember that we're talking to people that we've talked to before.
right.
So it should be somewhat familiar, right? Already. It should be somewhat familiar. We're asking pre-qualification questions but more than likely you already know that at this point. They're a lead. They're ready, willing, and able. You probably know some of those things about them.
The other thought I had during that conversation, I'm just curious what you guys do. Like, I really don't want to talk about their criteria until I have both of them, both decision makers together and talk about that. And I especially don't want to be giving input on those criteria before I hear them give me that input. So like you said, and it's fine for you if it works, but I just don't want to, I see that as potential for me guiding them before I get their input. So you said like 16 and you're like, oh, well, you need a spot to park like 3 cars. I mean, it's a question, but you're like, so you need a spot for 3 cars? I don't know. So do you guys, I'm just curious, do you wait for their input before you start doing that type of stuff, or how do you guys feel about that question?
Meaning the spouse's input? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, I want to hear from both of them before I start saying, would a 3-car
Yeah,
garage be helpful?
I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem talking to one of them over the phone. Now, when we have that appointment, they're both going to be there. I promise you. You know, because at that point, that's when it's important, I think, that I get both their input. And I'm going to have to recap a lot of this conversation with that other spouse too, granted. But the odds of me getting both spouses on the phone on this call, and you mentioned, Brian, that this is for people that you've already talked to. Now, see, I read it a little differently. This script to me is going to be the first conversation I'm going to have with somebody.
That's
I mean, I'm going to
script-
identify.
Yeah, it's written that way. I wanted everybody to kind of go into it with that mindset that this is already a lead. So yeah, that script is absolutely written in a way that this is a first call, it feels like. So I believe you're right there.
By the end of this script, I'm going to identify at least enough information that I know whether or not A, I need to sit down with them. B, do I want to sit down with them? Because I'm like Brian, I will not work with people I don't want to work with. If I don't like somebody or I'm getting a bad vibe off of them, I don't have time for that.
Mm-mm. The money's not worth it.
Yeah.
How about that? How about that? The money's not worth the headache.
Head trauma.
Yeah.
That'd be the most stressful $6,000 you ever made in your life if you don't
Yeah,
get
I don't
along
need
with them at all.
I don't need the heart problems. I got enough of them for the inspectors around here, which I love, all inspectors, every one of them. I'm just joking. It was supposed to be a joke, but anyway. Financing, when you get to the financing point, of course, we talked about Justin being pre-approved ahead of time. We want to make sure that we sit down with people who are pre-approved. If not, there's some sort of plan to get them pre-approved. I don't sit down with people unless they have a letter, like in person. You know, if you're not ready to really go look at houses, we're not. And well, I say that. I will sit down with you if you're in the process. Or if I'm putting you in the process, I'll sit down with you, all of those things. But it's very short, very sweet, those type of things. Let's get through this process first because it's step by step. I can't go show you houses until, and you've got to figure out if, one, can you afford what you want? Right.
See, you're nicer than me. I won't sit down with them. And the litmus test for me to spend time with somebody is they talk to either my lender or another lender and got me an approval. Otherwise, I don't have time for it.
You're so mean.
Well, I'm extremely protective of my time.
Good for you. Yeah.
So
absolutely.
are you both saying that if you talk to someone on the phone and they're wanting to look at a house, that you're not willing to even meet with them until they already, like you said, are either in the
Not unless
process?
it's my listing.
But what if,
The only way I'm meeting with somebody that hadn't already gotten approved is if it's my listing and I'm going to use that as a segue to have that conversation with them.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But I won't go out and meet a random buyer that hasn't gotten approved yet.
Not at somebody else's listing, no, yeah, definitely not. Yeah. And even sometimes my listings, like I don't know that it's worth it for
I
me.
don't disagree with it. It just seems like that if someone understands that they have to get pre-approved before you go look at houses, would you still meet them at the market center, for example, before they've got pre-approval? Or
I probably, at the market center, I would probably offer a consultation, yes. But to go out and actually open a lot box for somebody, I'm not doing it.
yeah.
No, I don't open any houses unless you have a letter, for sure.
Yeah. And I've done that. I've started to do that
What are you
after
smiling about over here?
getting my time wasted. And I always pin it on the sellers. Is that in this market,
Well, if you're not ready to buy, you're not ready to buy.
Right.
And the market takes 2 to 3 days to get a letter anyway, so this house will be gone. Let's go look at something else. Go ahead and get pre-approved, and then we'll go look at something that will be available for you in 3 to 4 days.
See,
Well, and I'll get them with my lender. If they want to see it today and they got to see it today, I'll get them with Clifford. My lender that I use all the time, and he'll get me something fairly quickly. We're going to know whether or not they're willing to play.
Good blood.
Sorry.
I know you're good. I'm just giving crap. Go ahead, Brandy, you're smiling over here.
Yeah.
Are you doing opposite?
I view it as an opportunity to educate them, so
Okay.
to connect them with those people, and then also to leverage, so you can be an asset to them. Who do they know? You know, you're still making that contact. It's still a lead, and maybe it's not today. Even if you go show one property, if you connect them with the right people, it's a lead. And then who do they know? You know, so in my view, it's an opportunity. But, you know, you obviously do want to make good use of your time, but if they're reaching out to you,
It's a grenade
yeah.
or a shotgun shell
Yeah,
to me.
but if
It's
you-
a throw it and hope, right?
that's
Because
true.
I don't know their seriousness.
Mhm.
Like Brian said, my time is much more valuable than that. I got some chickens at the house that need me to go watch them. But, I mean, whatever it is, but let's be real, whatever that thing is that I feel like I should be doing otherwise, than showing an unqualified person a house, then I will do that instead. You
But
know?
what if, like, I see it this way, I'm a new agent, I have plenty of time.
Yep, you're hungry.
So,
Got
yeah, wouldn't that be a great opportunity to talk to somebody, sit on a table and say, here's the number, call them right now, get pre-qualified, and then we can.
Yeah. There's no right or wrong answer, right? There's really not, but I promise you, I don't think that if you're doing, let's just call it 10, 15 a year, you probably won't have the time for that. It's busy, you know what I mean? So that's what I think on that.
Thank you, Brian.
You're very welcome.
Just FYI, on that finance part, I just ask them what the budget is, and then they're giving me a number, and I say, or how much are you planning on spending?
Yeah,
And then I say, is that based on pre-qualification or just based on your budget? And that's how we're kind of exploring that, you know? How much have they looked at it? Have they talked to someone? To me, it's a little softer than just asking, are you pre-qualified?
yeah. What's your budget?
I like that. So run me through that again. You ask what their budget is, and then you ask them, is that based on a pre-qualification, or is that just,
Do you know how much you're looking at spending?
okay,
And then is that based on your budget or have you been pre-qualified?
okay, I like that.
And then if they're pre-qualified, I'm asking who?
We good to move on this? So, cool. We talked about buyer's questions a little bit. There's some buyer's questions in your guide that you can kind of go through and practice on the mirror or other people. However, what are we talking, what are some of the objections that you guys get when it comes to, just regular general injections? I'm in a lease, I'm not ready, those type of things. I won't be moving for a couple months. I'm using a different agent. I'm in a lease, whatever. Any objection? I don't want to buy right now. I don't want to sell right now. Those type of things.
If I sell my house, how am I gonna find another?
Okay,
house?
so what's your handler or what is your response to that? I can't sell my house today because I don't know where I'm gonna go.
As your agent, I'm gonna help you 100% and we find a home so you can list your house.
Okay, cool. Are there other options other than just find them the next house?
You can push closing, I mean. you
Push
can-
closing, reverse contingencies, those type of things, right? So understanding and offering those things out there to a person might relieve some of that stress. Because it is a stressful deal, not knowing where you're gonna go, right? Being homeless. What are some other tough objections?
Affordability.
Affordability right now, sure. Anything else? Objections, objection handlers, or
It's like I'm not-
way to
I wanna
overcome.
I wanna sell, but I'm not ready right now, in a few months.
Yeah, I want to sell, but I'm not ready right now. I'm looking in a few months. To me is an opportunity, not a rejection. They just told you a timeline. That's not a no, that's a yes. All day long,
I'm gonna wait until the market crashes.
okay? And then what's your handler? And what's your
Well-
handler for that one?
I revert back to the 40-year trend thing we learned at family reunion this year.
There
You
you
know,
go.
I mean, we're just now caught back up.
I say me too. Me too. I'm gonna wait till the market crashes too. I don't know what I'm waiting for, but I'm gonna wait. right? Because in 2022, the best time for you to purchase or sell a house is right now. Maybe, right? So,
I mean, well, you could ask someone, what if that doesn't happen for 10 or 20 years? And you're just sitting on the sidelines waiting,
Sure.
waiting to get that 3-car garage, waiting to
what
get
are the statistics say for
Get out of the
2022?
whatever.
I don't know, 9%. This is the last I read, 6 to 9% appreciation in 2022 is the last update. I think there was another update last week that I didn't read yet. But something like that. So there's always some sort of statistic out there or some Redfin, Realtor.com, they're saying 6 to 9% this year. And with rates going up, potentially continuing to go up based off of what's going on in the world, then maybe right now is the best time for you this year. I don't know, or, those type of things, statistics. We plan on selling our home, but not until we fix it up. What does the agent say to that one in the book? Page 48.
Not there.
I might be
Sorry.
able to help you. I have a list of contractors and suppliers that I've worked with in the past. Plus, I can give you pointers on what to fix and not to fix. Some things will give you a return, and some homeowners fix things that don't really need fixing.
Yeah. I would say that
That's
we've,
coming with value.
yeah, definitely bringing value to the
I think
table.
on this market, like, something's not worth fixing is a very important thing, because it's not worth it right
Is
now.
anything worth
There's so
fixing at
many
this point?
people looking for stuff right now.
Mhm.
We really need to talk about what you're thinking about spending money on, because
Yeah. So this agent went down here, we're just looking. It's a buyer combo. This whole combo is weird to me, but it says I don't want to buy. Why are you not sure? I'm not sure if I want to buy. Why are you not sure? It's a weird question to me. I don't know. I'm just not sure about owning a piece of property. It kind of sounds like a little smart aleck, but at the same time, not too bad. You're paying these things. You're just educating, right? In that conversation. What about seller says, let me think, I'm trying to think here. Let's see what the book says. I can find, those are buyers. One of the ones that I've used, and again, it sounds fairly pretentious. We're gonna go through this super fast because I know 1 o'clock's the deadline. But basically when we're talking and say something along the lines of, would you like, is there anything else that I can offer that would secure this appointment today? They'll say no, usually. Then what do you got going on next Tuesday? Question mark. I'll be at work. Okay, cool. What day works for you? Question mark. You can get those again are very direct, very direct. The other thing is, and when somebody says, well, I'd like to interview another agent. To me, that's a cue of what have I not provided that you're looking for, right? So that's what I ask. Is there something that I'm not providing to you today that you're looking for? No. Okay. So I wrote it all down from my notes in my phone because that's where I go most of the time. What's the other agent? If they say yes, what's the other agent going to provide that I'm not, that you're looking for? If they say yes, that I gave them everything that they're looking for, then what's the interview with the other agent going to provide that I didn't? And then if they say no, I ask, what expectations do you have? Or what expectations do you need me to meet for you? Right? And then if they say nothing, then what do I need to do to earn your business today? Because if you're ready, willing, and able, and I ask you, can we have the appointment? And you say, no, I'd like to talk to another couple agents on the phone first. What have I not offered you that I can't?
So
If they say nothing, then why are we not meeting? Essentially, then what's the point of you talking to another agent? If I'm offering everything that you're looking for. We'll say, I don't know what I'm looking for. Come in, let's talk about it. I'll show you exactly what you're looking for in an agent. You know, those type of things. So again, it's conversion, it's asking, it's being confident, all of those different things. And then we have to classify, which we've talked about a lot throughout this entire lesson. Determine how quickly you need to have the conversation. It says in here, Rick and Terry Brankus from Las Vegas, Nevada, you want to be actively working with the buyers who will buy within a week. Yes. That's who I want to work with. Time equals money, right? So when we classify them, what are their barriers? Can you remove them? Are they qualified? Can you work with them? Right? Because it's important to know if you can work with them or not. And then determine how quickly you need to meet with them, decide what you need to cover, determine what to do for follow-up, and eliminate any prospects that are not going to be good business for you. When I say that, what would be a person that would not be a good, a potential customer to avoid?
Somebody that is just looking, just want to see, don't want to make a transaction.
A looky-loo?
Yeah.
Sure, they could get classified as a contact or a met.
Someone that you just don't have a good rapport with, someone that you have a personality conflict with.
Rapport, personality conflicts, price. Are they crazy on price? Do you want to work with that? I don't know, maybe you'll still take it. And then hope for the best in the back end.
Maybe somebody that would violate the law or equal housing opportunity.
Yeah, somebody unethical or unlawful, sure. Unreasonable about price, fixed on commission, not value. And then always go for the referral. So let me see what the slide says here. Sorry. So now that we've got, we're getting with these customers that we want to avoid. For me, people that I want to avoid, I want to avoid, for me, it's personality more than anything. It's always about personality. Is this person going to be a pain in my butt? I don't love really needy people. My wife is much better at handling somebody who will text you all day. If you text me all day, then I will probably ignore you for 3 or 4 hours. It's just one of those things. Like there's a limit to my communication when it comes to this. I try to operate my business extremely professional and just business-like. And it's different than some, but all of these things are very important whenever it goes into it. We'll talk a little bit more in a minute too, but the best practice, hold a consultation as soon as possible. However, sometimes the top agents don't want to do a consultation until leads are willing, ready, and able to do business with them immediately. This approach says you don't want to invest any face-to-face time until a buyer is ready to make an offer as soon as the house is found. So dangerous, right? A little bit dangerous because you could lose those clients because you're not necessarily giving them what they need. But were they really ready, willing, and able, and did they need your attention and time at that point? I don't know. That's up to you. But I personally, again, and Brian on the Zoom, he said that he's not going to meet him either. I probably am not.
Well, I also agree with Michelle too, because I'm in that same stage. Right now I have more time than I have clients. So it's like sometimes just interacting with a client builds
It's good.
experience and
Yeah.
it's good because
It is.
you're gaining experience, whether you're viewing homes or, having meetings or what have you.
And when I was first starting, I took every meeting and every client, every single conversation was yes. It was always yes. And I wore myself out very quickly. So just remember that balance has to come at some point. So don't let yourself get too crazy busy whenever you do all of that. So we're gonna put all of this together into a lead generation action plan. The biggest thing we talk about in 36-12, 3 hours every single day lead gen, right? Have we been doing it?
Pretty close.
Close? Okay, cool.
No, I think some days I do 5-6 hours.
Yeah.
Some days I do 2 hours, so,
So let's go to our books again on page 56. We're just gonna talk a little bit through this and we're a little over time, I'm sorry. What activities from this session can help you in your lead generation action plan? What activities from this section are you gonna put into your lead generation action plan? And I don't think there's really any lead generation things that we're talking about. We're talking more conversion. So.
definitely more follow-up.
More follow-up. Okay, cool. So how?
Email, text message, phone calls.
Yeah.
More often,
Mhm.
because I'm doing follow-up, but not too often.
So more follow-up, sure.
To me, the biggest thing coming out of this class was like, how are other people asking for that next communication point?
Mm-hmm.
Whether that's, a phone call or, a sit down, like, because to me, that's the hardest part is like asking for that or when to ask for it.
Yeah, when to ask for it. What's that?
Script practicing.
Script practice, sure.
Okay.
So just ahas in general from today, any overall? Anyone online as well?
You said key to conversion is your own motivation.
I think so.
Good.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it's all about motivation. Everything is if I'm not motivated to go to my kid's baseball game, I'm not going to show up. It doesn't matter how much I love my kid. If I'm not motivated to be there for them, then I'm not showing up, right? So if I'm not motivated to be there for me, because for me, my family, my profession, my career, if I'm not willing, able, motivated to show up for myself, then I'm in a wrong job. I got to go figure something else out. Because if I'm willing to show up for somebody else, then go do that. Go get a job. Go show up for somebody else. Be a team agent, cool. It's all great. Personally, my opinion, if you're not willing to show up for yourself and put in the effort and put in the lead gen, what's the point? That's where we work. That's where we really put in the work. So that 3 hours of every day, compartmentalizing how that works and how that, I wish I would have filled out kind of mine, what it looks like. I should, we could kind of go over it if you want to. But I'm very segmented in everything that I do. So the appendix has some different, those scripts and those type of things. We talked about it, no skipping, no interruptions. I lead gen from my shop at my house. That's where I go. It's my secret place. Quiet. My cat's out there. He runs around, that type of stuff. But, that's where I go. So, any questions at all? Comments, concerns, complaints, anything. I'm happy to take any feedback. Any questions for each other? Sorry.
I think it was great. I think it was really valuable.
Go ahead, online.
You did a great job.
Oh, I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear questions. There's got to be questions, and especially from each other. Nothing? Jeez, you guys are killing it already. Cool. Well, thank you guys for showing up today. I really appreciate it. And I hope you guys learned something. Happy to do this anytime. If you guys need anything from me, shoot me a call, give me a text, whatever. I'm happy to help. It might take me an hour or two to get back to you sometimes though. Depends on
Don't continue to
Depends on how many times you texted me that day. Any questions online? Thank you guys for showing up online. I appreciate you all. And I hope you all have a great day.
Thanks for.
Thank you guys.
Thank you so much.
How do I kill this?
Yeah.